asking about how you first came into contact with yoga. I know you were really young. It was quite unusual.
Well, I mean, just a quick brief history, just
Mm.
because it is quite relevant. My family, my grandmother, my grandfather were, kind of some of the original hippies back in the '60s. They actually got married on Venice Beach,
Mm.
down there at the water, and they traveled a lot. They followed yeah, Swami Satchidananda.
Okay. Yeah.
And so my grandmother talked to me about the Bhagavad Gita, and we believed in reincarnation and karma and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of passed on. And then my mother, when she got older, she kind of veered away from it for a little while.
Mm.
She had me at a young age, and I think that on some level she wanted to kind of try and be normal.
Yeah.
But still it was in my life. I mean, we were doing meditation, and we were doing movements, cat cow movements in the living room, and we were always on and off with like a vegetarian diet. And I think that
Yeah.
there was no way to get around it. That's just kind of how the kind of culture in which I grew up.
Yeah.
And so the first time I had an actual yoga class, which was like a technical yoga class at a studio, when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of was introduced to the asana practice as a spiritual practice, and that
Mm.
was in Portland, Oregon, at a studio called Body Moves. And it was they had Nia and other kinds of ecstatic dance, and it was next door to a dance studio, and so it was just, yeah, this is amazing. So.
And did you do it? Like, did you start doing it because you were interested in the spiritual benefits, or did...
That's a good question. It was interesting because I don't know. Again, I was dancing and doing ecstatic dance, and there was the yoga class happening at that studio. And I mean, I definitely could say I've always been a seeker. I mean, I think now I'm not so much a seeker as I get older. I think that you get on the path long enough, and the seeking turns to in a different direction. But when I was younger, I was looking for answers, and just like, exploring different paths and different teachings, and always embodiment. Movement has been a big thing for me. So dance and free form expression and moving when I was 18 and young.
Mm.
And then finding yoga and having an experience of really Shavasana. My first Shavasana basically was my first class. Really was one of those experiences where I had the combination of my physical, because I love to be, like I said, moving,
Yeah.
active. So the physical aspect with really looking at the mind and my emotions and my thoughts, and getting more clear about who I am and what am I doing in this world. And
Mm.
then as well as that kind of that spiritual esoteric aspect, which, I still don't even know what to call it, but it's
Yeah.
just naming the mystery, and, trying to speak about the mystery, and all those things combined for me in one type of modality. I was like, okay, this is for me. I knew it was really challenging, and I love a good challenge.
Mm.
So I just knew for me it would be a lifelong companion, and it
Mm.
has been. So I've been
Wow.
practicing yoga for 17 years now.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
So, who were some of your most influential teachers, and what was the most powerful learning you took from them?
I mean, definitely growing up in Los Angeles. I was grew up in Los Angeles, and then I moved to Portland. But when I was in my 20s, I moved back to LA, and that was really like in my early 20s, and that was the right time for me to go on my healing journey,
Mm-hmm.
go back to my roots, back to Venice, and just really heal my life. And that's when I stumbled upon Exhale Center for Sacred Movement in Venice, California, on Main Street. But so I was just staying there for my own healing, and
Yeah.
over time I stayed there long enough, and I, kind of stumbled into, Shiva Ray and
Mm.
Mark Whitwell, Max Strom, Saul David Ray, Hala Corey,
Okay.
Annie Carpenter came later. So it was just really, that was where I did my study for years and years and years. Joe Tastula, who's also on she's one of my favorite teachers, and she lives in Australia.
Okay.
So, you know, it was just one of those things.
Were they all
Right place,
teaching
time.
different styles, like their own, or was
You know,
it kind of a line?
I think that they have their own expression. I think that if you kind of look at what's happening in Los Angeles, it was very much influenced by a handful of teachers that were influenced by a handful of other teachers. So there is kind of like a lineage coming through. You know, Shiva's teachers were Chuck Miller, and he was really into Ashtanga, you know, and then Mark Whitwell's teachers were, you know, Desikachar, Krishnamacharya. So I would say that, you know, the lineage that I'm teaching is a vinyasa lineage based on Krishnamacharya, and then those kind of subsets. And a lot of the Western, what was happening in LA is, you know, I think is a very similar style, to be honest. Everyone has their own expression, but it's a lot.
Kind of like LA style yoga.
I guess so. I mean, you know, Mahdi Azrati and all of them had a big influence, and I think what everyone is doing over there. And then, of course, Shiva Ray cultivated her own style that I, you know, watched her kind of develop over the years, and was, you know, also inspired a lot by her and her own developments through the dance world as well. You know, I think that we can't deny, you know, people like Gabrielle Roth and Emily Conrad, women like this who were doing these wave-like movements and kind of opening the box of what we think yoga is, and really seeing it as a larger movement modality.
Yeah, David Tsai, who I interviewed just recently, was talking a lot about that. Just, breaking out a little bit of, you know, what you think it is. And, okay, even if you're working in a tradition, you're bringing your own personality and style to it. And everybody's bringing something, and it's evolving all the time. Yeah.
I think yoga is a living experience. It has to be relevant to the people. It has to be relevant to our lives. It has to be relevant to our bodies. And, you know, if we hold on to old dogmas that keep us limited, yoga's not alive, and yoga's not doing what yoga is here to do, which is, you know, transform our lives and make us able to be in the world in a way that we feel whole and complete, and we can deal with the many crazy stresses that life is, you know, kind of always, you know, abounds within life experience.
Yeah. So do you still, I'm always interested in yoga teachers like you who have been teaching quite a while. Do you still check in with your teachers at all? Or
I have
how does
to.
that work?
I mean, I have to. It's you know, sometimes I think that when you become, you know, a teacher in your own right, and you become busy, and you know, busy is in that you're working a lot and you've got your own stuff going on, you know, you crave your teacher. Like I crave my teachers, and I always wish, you know, I could, well, back in those days when I was just a student, you know, I really do. So I'm always a student first, I would say. And I do crave more time with my teacher, so I really have to carve it out and find. And now, you know, with online stuff, it's actually really great because there's so many ways you can kind of tap in to our teachers online. And I'm lucky; I have a few teachers that I have real personal access to, so I can call and have, you know, just those kind of counseling moments when you know, things get a little crazy, you know, and you can really just tap into on a personal level. But maintaining my own practice is essential.
Yeah.
Especially with travel.
Yeah, absolutely. And those moments when you kind of check in with them on a personal level, is it also kind of a little bit like mentors for you as a teacher? Or? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
They've walked the path before me. They have, of course, their own opinions and their own views and their own way. And it might not always be my way, but at least I can learn from their experience, and whatever they share with me, I really, I just all ears and open heart.
Great. That's really valuable to have maintain those connections.
Yeah.
How is your personal practice evolving now? Is it something that's changing all the time, or what? How does that sit for you?
Yeah, you know, my practice is always evolving, always changing. I feel like you know, I feel like actually after 17 years, to be honest, I'm like, oh, finally practice, like finally doing yoga or finally experiencing yoga. It's like
Yeah.
so many years of trying hard and it's like, oh, finally yoga is happening. And when I roll up my mat or just in life, but my like asana practice and my mat practice, which really includes pranayama, meditation, mantra, mudras. I do a lot of inner practices that I learned through the tantric lineages that I study with. So that really keeps me grounded.
Is it a
Those
daily
types of
thing?
things. What's that?
Is that a daily thing for you?
So daily, I would say almost daily. I'm not as intense as I think I was in the beginning. And I think it's important to be really intense in the beginning because it sets that tone. Now I'm not so intense, but I'm still getting myself into my advanced poses or nice long meditations. I would say as far as asana practice, I'm kind of like every other day or every third day, like a strong kind of asana practice going into really big back bends and trying to brush up on my advanced poses.
Yeah.
And then in terms of meditation, trying to do that, in the evening and then in the morning, maybe not every day, but I can't be stressed on myself about things. I'm really, sometimes it means going for a hike because I'm here in the mountains and sometimes it's just like go for a hike or.
That's also yoga, just treating yourself how you want to be treated, how you need to be treated in whatever moment.
Go outside and work with the roses, trimming the rose bushes and watering the plants and things like that. Even cleaning my house, it's just like nourishing ways to just, I feel like also too in a simple life. Sometimes I feel like before I was really, in my younger years, I was very emotional, highs and lows and even, more towards, life. But as I get more stable, my practice becomes more of a joy than it is like trying to maintain my equilibrium.
Yeah.
So, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, totally. Yeah, so in that way you don't have to be quite so disciplined because it's more of a way of bringing out your joy and love and not like, okay, I have to do this because I have to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. So just getting on to how you started teaching and traveling. When you decided to become a yoga teacher, did you envisage the life that you have today, teaching and traveling and sharing, or did this just kind of develop organically?
I would have to say it's developed organically. I would definitely say that. What happened for me was like I said, I was in Los Angeles studying with my teachers and then eventually subbing, assisting them and then subbing for them at Exhale and then giving my own classes on the schedule. And I was there for a good 11 years, really being a student and then like becoming a teacher. And that process for me was amazing. I really do feel like it set me up a nice launching pad to go into the life I'm living now. At the time, I didn't know. I just wanted classes on the schedule, and I wanted them so bad. And I would just work so hard to refine myself. And I've done so many trainings and I'm still with my teachers, like always with my teachers. And that's kind of why I miss all that. But what happened for me was it came to a point where I got invited to do some teaching, elsewhere. I had this Mallorca job at the ashram. Started doing retreats and all these other things came up. And I thought, oh, goodness, I was told by my community and all the teachers and my mentors, like there was a time when, you had to build your classes, build your community, build your following, your student base, all that kind of thing. And then you can go and travel. And I was like, oh, like I've already committed so many years. And now traveling is one of my passions. That was actually one of my favorite things to experience before I even found yoga. Actually, when I was 16, I fell in love with travel. And my mom was, I was in the womb when she was traveling and I was conceived in Sweden. Like, when I was 1 year old, they took me traveling. And so traveling, I think, in my family lineage, like they did a lot of traveling. So there is my sign, I'm a Sagittarius. I hear that means that they're like, really, they love to be explorers. And so for me, exploring the world is a passion. It's not like, oh, I just want to travel. Like I need to see people and places and discover new things and see the way people eat and live. And so when it came to this place, and I studied world arts and culture at UCLA, and then I went to India for my study abroad, and I just found any way I could get out into the world. And so then, I'm teaching and everything's going great, and I'm, getting my classes on the schedule in LA where I wanted them. And then all of a sudden it was like, here's this opportunity to go travel and teach.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is what I want. And it was a struggle for me at the time because, I mean, like anytime I step into follow my heart, it's always like a little bit of oh God, is this going to work, please? So much trust and just diving in. And when it started happening, it was like, okay, I had to make a real conscious decision. Do I tell the universe that this is what I want?
Okay.
Or do I tell the universe that, okay, I want to keep my jobs at the LA studio and stay there and build my community? Like, is that what I want to do? Or do I want to do this? And I felt like that was a marker where the universe was asking me, what do you want? What do you want to do? And I had to kind of say at that moment, I had to make a choice, and that choice basically told the universe, okay, this is what I want. And then when I got really behind it, and of course at the time, finding a partner who is also, we have a retreat company together called A Way Inward, and his love for travel and our lives just came into sync at the right time, and we moved out of LA, and we've just been traveling ever since, really, for the past 5 years that we've been together, leading retreats and workshops and trainings. And so that's kind of how it happened, but I had to make a real, kind of break away from what I was building, what I thought I wanted, what I was working so hard towards, like to kind of break away from what everyone said that was the way you do it, because that was what it meant to be a teacher. And I had all this struggle for a while around, am I a teacher if I don't have any classes on the schedule? And that was like a huge kind of process for me to find my seat as a teacher that is outside of that box and outside of kind of I don't know, in America, it's like that. And in the US particularly, and like Los Angeles particularly, it's like, you have to have your classes and schedule. Then you're a teacher. And when I didn't have that, it was like, had to really dig deeper into what it means to hold the seat of a teacher. Yeah.
And so now, I'm not sure. Do you have a home base, or are you and your partner just free nomads?
Well, yeah, we had a base in Los Angeles, and then we moved to New York about 4 years ago. And then last year, it was literally in October of last year that he and I put our stuff in storage in the Bronx. We moved out of our Brooklyn apartment and hit the road. And I've been doing some festivals and workshops and trainings and retreats with him, and also on my own. And so we don't have a home base right now. We're kind of like, home is where we are, and home is where we make it. And so luckily, I haven't had to spend really any time in hotels. Most of the time, I'm either at a nice retreat center or in someone's home who's hosting me, or I'm somewhere long enough that we can get like a house. Like here in Mallorca, we have a house. So I don't really live a hotel life or that kind of a life. I'm always finding home wherever I go, which is, I think, really essential to keep me grounded.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it needs a lot of planning too, obviously, in advance, just to kind of know.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. I mean, just to be grounded enough to know where you're going next, so you're not like a little bit, so you're not stressed. Yeah. Okay.
That's become easier. Like I find myself on a plane, like, well, how did I get here? Like kind of people, how they get in their cars, they get to work, and they don't really realize that how they drove from home to work. It just kind of had an autopilot. And kind of what happens with me on planes. I get on the plane where I take off. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I made that one. So good. But I think the challenge would be not so much like the packing and all of that stuff, which it's really easy now. But it is like the future projections, because I live a life that there's no guarantee that any of these things I'm going to do is going to fly. You know, people always, you know, you hear all the time in this industry, and people are always putting things out there. We're putting things out there that we think people are going to want.
Okay.
And, you know, I
Like
don't know that I
classes
have the
or
magic
retreats
formula.
or
I mean, you
workshops or
know,
whatever.
what's that?
Like a retreat or a workshop or whatever.
Retreats, workshops, trainings, you know, you put it out there, there's interest, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't put it out there. So there's interest, but there's really no guarantee that you know, you're going to pull as many people as you're hoping, or that you're going to be able to pull it off, you know. So there's an enormous amount of trust in the process that has to happen. You know, my marketing savvy is lacking.
I imagine most yoga teachers would probably say that.
And I don't mind, you know, I really don't mind. I'm not going to beat myself up about that. I didn't come into the world, and I didn't become a yoga teacher to become good at marketing.
Yeah.
I don't have any care for it, and I do the work, I do my work, and I share my gifts, and I share yoga. And if the universe and Ma, and I know it kind of sounds silly, but if Ma wants me to be living this life, she's going to keep putting things in front of me, it's going to work out. And that's how I've been rolling, and things keep working out, and it's like, okay, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
You know, if I stress myself out about, oh, I should have a better YouTube page, and I should have a better this, you know, presence here and there, and it drains all of the love out of me. So I just rather not.
Yeah, no, it's totally understandable. I even try and avoid that, and you know, my business is pretty much marketing or writing and marketing. But yeah, like the same, you know, you can always be doing more, but that is not a good feeling. It's a very bad
It's not a good feeling. We can always be doing more. I mean, and it's like life. I feel like all other industries in the world, that's their motto, and everyone's doing that. And I feel like becoming a yoga teacher for me was doing something different, liberating myself from that chain. And I feel like if I just play into that whole thing, then I'm not doing myself a service, nor the people who are looking to me to actually, like, you know, everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
You know, like, can we be the people who are actually saying, look, you can live life well and happy without playing that game, you know? And maybe I'm not going to be, you know, the biggest, like, yoga star, like, yoga celebrity. I don't care, you know? Like, I really don't. If I touch people's lives, and Ma keeps gracing me with the life I'm living, and, you know, and I can keep doing what I do, helping others, like,
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And like I was going to say, your practice obviously must be like really essential in kind of keeping you grounded in that way, and keeping you keeping you really clear about, okay, I shouldn't be doing more, and, you know, because that's the whole point of yoga.
Yeah. It really, really is. It's just important not to lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing, so that we can really so we can really bring something into the world that is actually meaningful, useful for people, relevant. Because what people want is connection. What people want, they don't. I don't know. I don't want somebody just to try and sell me something else. You know, it's like it needs to be useful. It needs to be relevant for people. And I think when that happens, when there's a need. It can be filled with, if we have the skill and the love and the intention, it can be filled. So, I mean, as far as like yoga teachers maybe watching this video and they're like, oh, you know, how do I make my next big thing? And you know, of course, we're here, you and I are here to help and kind of and coach and guide, because I know the road is rough. You know,
it's not easy. Like,
it's really not easy. But if you're open to life being not easy, but maybe more liberating, then the path for you will unfold. And if you're not meant to go in a direction, the universe will make life really hard. It will make make it really tough, and you'll just know, okay, don't go that way. Like, if things are that hard, So not to say like go the easy route all the time, but I'm saying, like, you know, my teachers have always said, follow the Shakti. Go where the Shakti is. Go where the energy is. Go where the light is. Follow that lightness of being, and, you know, and trust. Big T word.
Absolutely. And I just really like what you said about, I mean, you know, yoga teachers like people come to you and to yoga teachers to get away from the more and the, you know, the stress of modern life and the more doing and more having. So yeah, you obviously have to also embody that in your own teaching practice and your own marketing and everything. Yeah, because you're there to help them.
That's how I've chosen to do it, you know. It's funny because ever since I started, when I first started teaching yoga in Los Angeles, I was like, okay, I gotta, you know, have some brand. I gotta, what's my brand and what's my thing and what's my logo and what's my font and all of that stuff. And I, you know, like really thought about that. And I was like, you know, luckily at the time, one of my partners at the time, he was like, just make your own, like, I've got to spend all this money on a website and I've got to, it's like, just make your own website. And I've been making my own website for the past 7 years that I've been teaching, like full time. You know, I've been teaching really full time for the past 7 years.
Okay.
And I've been making my own website. I've been making my own flyers. I've been doing my own thing.
I
like,
didn't know that.
You know,
cool.
You just, I don't know. I mean, it's a homegrown. Keep it simple. It's a homegrown little operation, and you know, some of my clientele are some of the wealthiest people, kind of in America. To be honest with you, like that's my reality. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like boast names or anything, but it's just people are drawn, I think, to the quality of character in which you are, not so much the glamour and glitz. If you have a well thought out website that has the information that they need, that's user friendly, that doesn't look crappy. I mean, there's so many cheap ways to do it, and you can update it. You know, it needs to be updated. You have to put a little love into it, a little bit of, you know, like you got to let people know where you're going to be.
Absolutely.
But besides that, you know, keep it simple. Like enjoy your life. You know, you want to become a yoga teacher so you can enjoy your life.
Yeah.
So enjoy your life. My partner's like probably listening to me. Like finally, she's listening to me. Finally she's listening to my advice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending time to talk to me today. It's been really interesting.
Thank you for doing what you're doing and doing your best to try and help people navigate, because this is a new thing that I think people are discovering, and more and more people are doing it now, and finding a navigation tool I think will be really helpful for many people. So thanks for you and the work you're doing, and inviting me to talk and share.
Oh, no worries. So if anyone wants to find out about you, they can go to your website, niannabray.com,
and also awayinward.com.
Yeah, cool. All right, thanks so much.
And so if anyone wants to offer any donations to Nepal right now, because we are collecting funds for the Nepal relief, if you feel that, you know, calling, but otherwise just know that you can find that through our website.